This new model, for one, must be more democratic, far more democratic. Paideia cannot be a preserve of aristocrats and elites. It must belong to all. Additionally, it must become more culturally flexible. Paideia cannot be a forced assimilation. It must be a vehicle for articulating new, hybrid identities while simultaneously redefining the core of Greek identity. Greek identity will not remain unchanged by this encounter. It will evolve, as it has in the past, and it will survive. And I, for one, believe that it can thrive. And here, I speak from some amount of experience as someone who, not Greek in inheritance, but yet I've wound up teaching modern Greek and making a career out of modern Greece. And I'm someone who has firsthand experienced the pull of Neo-Hellenism and its emerging paideia. And I can say from experience I've been transformed by that encounter. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. A few minutes for questions.
You can talk about what you've been seeing around Athens as you've strolled. Yes?
You said that there's a respect for Albanians that come over here and they're hardworking, but we talked with a girl, she was a preschool teacher, I think, and we asked her if she had ever visited Albania, and her expression was like, no, never, I never want to go there, but she was kind of younger, and so most of I think the younger crowd are more tolerant, but she didn't seem that way.
I think there's going to be a big spectrum of reactions to immigrants and reactions to particular countries. I mean, Albania still is quite underdeveloped and not really on the tourism map for Greeks, for most Greeks. But I mean, we can. There's risk to generalizing from a set of narratives or a fairly big group of narratives, but the stories you hear from people who actually work in the fields with Albanians, from people who work. I mean, my favorite souvlaki joint up in Filoxenia now. The kitchen staff is all Albanian. They're part of the way the place works. They've become part and parcel there, and it's not a bad thing. I think there are good relations there. It's not to say not some tension, but I really think when people work together, the attitudes change, and people who have been working in the construction sector, I've been genuinely impressed with the way Albanians have worked, their work ethic, their commitment to labor. And I think that's spreading in Greek society overall, although there obviously are going to be some people who have very strong negative beliefs about Albanians as well.
How does this interact with the sense of Europeanness here? And sort of, as Greece has entered the EU, it's got to deal with how much it's going to retain its national identity, and how much it's going to join the larger European identity.
Absolutely. I think the Europeanness has been in the back of the minds of many who have been thinking about immigration, who have also been thinking about Turkey's entry into the European Union. I think it has heightened, the sense that Greece is entering into a dramatic change in its cultural identity and its economic identity. I think it's heightened the tensions over immigration overall. And I think it's played a fairly instrumental role in both on the side of people who want to critique Europeanness. This was never a problem when we weren't European. Greece was. It's hard for somebody who hasn't experienced Greece in the 1990s, early 90s, and before to understand how much of a sense of family. I mean, I think it's hard to put it any other way. Family community existed within Greece. I mean, there was just a commitment to the idea that we're all in this together. And that has been gradually eroded by Europeans, I think, in some way, shape, and form, by the economic institutions, by the economic shifts that have occurred as a result of European integration. And that has become a source of tension, one that I think, to be perfectly honest, becomes projected often onto immigration. Yes?
I think that the way Greeks view Albanians kind of rubs off on this, because we met a guy from Albania, and he's 24 years old, he says he's lived in Greece for 20 years. And we were talking, and I was like, so you're Greek? He's like, no, I'm not Greek, I'm from Albania. And I was like, well, if you went over to America and someone said, where are you from? You would say Greece. He's like, no, I would say, I'm Albanian. I was like, well, you've lived in Greece for 20 years. He's like, no, I'm Albanian.
And I think what you're seeing right there is the failure of this politismos notion, that there is no mechanism for this person to effectively imagine themselves as Greek. And you'll have, I should have put this in, there's one Albanian rapper out there who's rapping in Greek and is making basically a plea to be recognized as Greek, to be treated as equal, to become a member of society. And it's all about his alienation. And I think a lot of people are at the point where they are alienated. They've given up hope, in spite of going through the educational system, in spite of doing their best to learn the language and to acculturate. And truly, the number of people who've converted to Orthodoxy is pretty significant. I think people are also reaching the point where they won't accept me. You become a recalcitrant in your identity as a result. I think one of the interesting issues for me is how the economic crisis is going to affect immigration and how it's going to affect relations between Greeks and immigrants. And I certainly think it's going to reduce the number of immigrants at some level. May reduce the number of Greeks as well. I mean, you may see immigration become a phenomenon again in Greek society. So it's going to be, I think, another emerging chapter in Greece's history of immigration and immigration.